Last night, my team, the Kansas City Chiefs, they lost the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. And what do I see this morning? I see Kansas City fans completely breaking down. But over in Philly, they had riots. They had fires. They had flipped over cars. They had looting in the streets. Absolute chaos. Now imagine if they would have lost. Now I get being passionate about your team. I get that feeling. The pain of the loss. I also get the rush of the victory. But if your whole world comes crashing down because your team lost, or you lose your damn mind because your team won, your priorities are completely out of alignment. And here's the truth, guys. Where your eyes go, your mind goes. And if your focus is locked onto the things outside of your control, you're always going to be reacting. You're always going to be emotional. And you're always at the mercy of external chaos. But what happens when you shift that focus? If you train your mind to lock in on the things that matter, the things like your leadership, your marriage, your fatherhood, your legacy, that's when everything changes.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forged Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host, Steve Baumgartner, and his guests in The Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
Guys, I guarantee this message is going to hit you strong today. So before we even get into that message, can you hit that rating and review button and leave this podcast a little bit of a review? That'll help us rise up in the rankings so we can continue bringing a strong message to all men who are trying to escalate in their leadership. One other thing that you can do to help out a friend is to hit that share button and share it with a friend who might need this message today. We don't do enough of that as men. We don't share like we should share. But if we truly love our friends, we want them to grow. So hit that share button and help your friend grow. Guys, I used to be that guy. I'd let outside events dictate my emotions. If work was stressful, I brought it home. If things were great, I was up. If things were bad, I was down. And the worst part, my family had to ride that roller coaster with me. I see the same thing with fans today. They're letting something completely outside of their control, whether a football game went their way or not, they allow it to determine their mindset. They allow it to determine their mood and even their actions. It's wild, but also it's a mirror. And it made me think, how many of us do this same thing in our own lives? How many of us let our focus be hijacked by things that don't actually move the needle? How many of us get stuck reacting instead of leading? So how do you shift from reacting to leading? How do you train yourself to focus on what actually matters? Right now, I'm going to give you a 4-step framework so that you can learn how to do that right now. So listen up, write it down, and put it to work. Step 1, simply stop fixating on things you cannot control. The first thing that you have to do is you need to audit your focus. How much energy are you currently wasting on things that you have zero control over? I would guarantee you that last night, when Kansas City lost the Super Bowl, that there were people who didn't sleep. Many men out there who didn't sleep for hours, if at all, because they were so distraught by their team losing. How much energy are you wasting on things you have zero control over? Now, everybody against the Chiefs, come on, everybody against the Chiefs. They had this mindset. They had this mindset about the refs being on Kansas City's side. After last night, you can say that's blown out of the water, right? You can't control the refs. Why are you worried about them? You can't control the stock market. You can't control what other people think, what they say, or what they do. But you can control what you focus on. And guys, here's the truth. If you waste your mental energy on things outside of your control, you're going to always feel powerless. You will always feel reactive. And that's a horrible, weak position to lead from. So here's the shift. Every time you catch yourself spiraling over something that you can't change, redirect that focus. Instead of, why did this happen? Ask yourself, what's my next move? For example, my son hasn't learned how to control his emotions about losing yet. He's 6 years old. Last night and previous games, he's been pretty distraught. So me as a father and as a man, I need to determine what's my next move. How do I help my son to understand that a loss of his favorite football team doesn't change anything in his life? What's my next move? What is that one thing that puts you back in control? Step number 2 is train your focus like athletes train their body. Athletes don't just hope that they get stronger. They don't show up at the gym and wing it, hoping for the best. No, they train. They have structure. They have a plan. Your focus needs to be the same level of discipline as that athlete training their body. So you're probably asking, Steve, how do you do that? Well, you start every morning by locking in your priorities. What are the 3 most important things that I need to execute today? Who do I need to show up for? What distractions need to be cut out? If you don't take control of your focus at the start of every day, the world, it's going to take it for you. And that's how you end up being distracted, how you end up being overwhelmed, and how you end up being frustrated with your life. This step isn't optional, guys. If you want to lead at the highest level, whether it's at work, with your wife, with your children, out in the community, whatever it is, if you want to lead at the highest level possible, you need to train your focus every single day. Now, this is the part where a lot of men struggle, and that's step 3. I need you to get your priorities straight, and I need you to get them straight very quickly. If I asked you right now what your top 3 priorities are, could you answer me? Could you answer me with absolute certainty? Because if you can't, that's a problem. That means you're leading without any sort of direction. And when you don't have clarity on what actually matters, everything feels urgent. Everything feels overwhelming. And that's why many men feel stuck. But let's be real for a minute. If you're more emotionally invested in a football game than you are with your wife in your marriage, or your kids, or the people that you lead in work, something's off, guys. Something is off. If you get more fired up about a bad call, but go numb when your wife tells you she feels disconnected from you, your priorities are misaligned. So here's the work. Write down your top priorities. What actually matters? Who actually matters? And then ask yourself, does your focus match your priorities? Because if it doesn't, that's why you feel stuck. I hope you're ready for the fourth step, and that is lead with certainty no matter the circumstance. Look, guys, life is going to throw punches. You're going to take losses. You're going to take those losses at work, in home, in business, in life. But strong leaders don't let outside chaos dictate their focus. Think about the greatest athletes in the world. Do they crumble when the game doesn't go their way? No, absolutely not. They don't crumble. They adapt. They refocus. And they execute. And that's what real leaders do. If you want to be unshakable, if you want to be the man that your family and team can rely on, you need to train yourself to stay locked in on the bigger picture. And that means when things go wrong, you don't spiral. You lead. You don't react. You adapt. You don't dwell on the problem. You execute the solution. And that, gentlemen, is what separates leaders from followers. That's what separates men who own their life from men who are just reacting to it. Here's my challenge for you today. Where have you been letting your focus get hijacked? Where have you been reacting instead of leading? I want you to think about it. I want you to find some answers. Because once that you understand, then you can do something about it. Now, if you're ready to take control and stop reacting and start leading with unshakable focus, then let's go. Start implementing the steps that I gave you here today. But if you want deeper guidance, I run programs called the Forged Leadership Blueprint, and that is designed to help you lock in these habits for good. In April, I'm also going to be opening up an online version of that so that we can help more guys quicker, really is what it comes down to. And guys, remember, where the eyes go, the mind goes. It's time to take control of your life today.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the forge.